Who are some of the most heartless criminals who don't care about any of their crimes? Let's get into it, starting with number 6, Big Rig Ponzi. Rapper BigRigBaby and his business partner allegedly ran a Ponzi scheme to raise millions of dollars from investors in a fake company. BigRigBaby, whose real name is Patrick Earl Williams, a name he should stick with, since his stage name sounds like he's a giant baby semi-truck, and his partner, Rolf Max Hirschman, promised high returns on investments for people that invested in their company, WeedGenics. Thinking their money would go toward funding growing facilities in California and Nevada, investors contributed millions of dollars, expecting returns as high as 36%. In true Ponzi style, Williams and Hirschman used new investor cash to pay other investors, creating the illusion that the business venture was generating revenue. Williams kept $8 million in investors' funds, from which he spent $625,000 on dining, adult entertainment, jewelry, and other luxury items. He also used the funds to promote his music career, putting it towards paying producers, iHeartMedia, and DJs. He transferred roughly $1.9 million of investor money into his personal bank accounts. Hirschman used the name Max Bergman when communicating with investors. He received approximately $15.6 million in investor funds and, like Williams, made many extravagant purchases. Hirschman spent almost $5 million on real estate and $2.4 million on luxury cars. He additionally put $3.2 million toward credit card payments and withdrew $913,000 in cash. It was easy for investors to believe that everything was legitimate. The website claimed to have a 52,000 square foot campus in Las Vegas and was building a new growing facility in California. However, a complaint from the SEC revealed that the company was a sham. The filing accused Williams and Hirschman of lying about the existence of an actual company, falsifying its venue, and using investor funds for their own gain rather than for their purported business. The pair also allegedly lied about having the necessary licenses and permits to open the cultivation facility in California. They showed investors fake financials, locations, and photographs of their facilities. According to the complaint, Williams and Hirschman hid their money in multiple companies in order to not raise any suspicions. They created 16 organizations, most of which were LLCs, to move and transfer funds. In total, BigRigBaby and his partner scammed investors out of $62 million. Number 5. Kidnapped claims. Charlene Carasco told her ex-boyfriend that a felon kidnapped her so that he would send her money. Carasco, who lived in Nottingham, England, repeatedly called her ex-boyfriend, begging him to send cash as her kidnapper would only release her once he had the ransom. The pair met online in 2011 and soon developed an in-person relationship where they would meet weekly. Although they split in August 2013, they stayed friends. In 2014, Carasco started asking her ex-boyfriend for money, requesting small sums of $10 to $20 to help her pay bills and buy groceries. But in January of 2015, Carasco contacted him again, saying she owed a lot of money to a gangster who was holding her against her will. Carasco claimed the kidnapper locked her in a car and was taking her to an ATM to see if the money was in her account. Carasco's ex-boyfriend, trying to be a good guy, transferred $880 into her account and then an extra $378. The kidnapper apparently had an oddly specific amount in mind. Anyway, Carasco called him the next day to say the alleged gangster had injured her. Carasco claimed the only way to get him to stop was if her ex-boyfriend transferred more money. So he sent an additional $378. Seriously, why that amount? And contacted the police. When law enforcement arrived at her home, Carasco acted confused and claimed she had no idea why her ex would have reported a kidnapping. Although she made it seem like her ex was lying when he spoke to the police, 10 days later, Carasco contacted him again. This time, she said that her wallet and bank card were stolen by a man named Sean who demanded $1,890, sticking with his weirdly specific amounts, before he would give her things back. The best ex on the planet then received WhatsApp messages from Sean, who threatened to physically hurt Carasco if he didn't get the money. Further, Sean said that he would sell Carasco to a man who would do unspeakable things to her, like making her listen to BigRigBaby's music. Sean then told the ex to send the money, and if he went to the police, it would make things much worse for Carasco. The ex-boyfriend called Carasco, who cried but insisted she would be okay if he sent the money. He sent over another $389 and afterwards called the police again. Authorities deployed multiple officers to find the alleged hostage, eventually locating her at her family home. They arrested Carasco after discovering that she lied about the kidnappings. She pleaded guilty to blackmail and fraud and was sentenced to 12 months in jail. You would think alarm bells would be going off when someone's demanding a ransom of only $378. Like, normally the ransom is much higher, but he was having a blowout sale on prisoners. It's the end of the quarter, and hey, he's got a boss too, you know? Gotta hit those numbers. And wouldn't you be mildly offended on some level that he really didn't think he could get much more for you than $1,000? Like, he's looking at you and thinking, well, if I go too high, this guy isn't gonna pay it. We'll start really low and go from there. Yes, we know it's fake, but still. Number 4, scamming immigrants. Norma Ferrer scammed money out of undocumented immigrants with pending cases. Immigration attorney Martin Lester of Lester Law Firm received a phone call from a woman who claimed to be a client and wanted to know what was happening with her case. Her name was unfamiliar to Lester, who searched through his computer to find a record of the caller's case. After discussing the situation with other attorneys, he learned that a scammer had targeted a group of people Lester was trying to help. A woman named Norma Ferrer had been telling undocumented immigrants that she was working with various attorneys in the area. She said that if they paid her, she would coordinate everything that needed to happen for them to win their cases. Norma called her company Ferrer's Multi-Services and posted ads on Facebook written in Spanish, offering various services like immigration help and tax filings. The ad also included translation services for appointments with lawyers, hospital visits, and court cases. Ferrer also forged documents, including a contract with Lester Law Firm's logo. The phone call to Lester resulted in her indictment. Ferrer's lawyer required concrete evidence saying the defense started their own investigation into the case and found discrepancies. However, the prosecution highlighted that if found guilty, Ferrer would have denied undocumented immigrants the opportunity to live legally in the United States. Number 3, paying for employment. Leah Wilson, a single Australian mother of 3, lost thousands of dollars in an employment scam. Wilson was a victim of the September 2022 Optus data breach, where hackers stole her personal information. Less than a year later, it happened again. Wilson applied for jobs online using Tradewind Australia, a legitimate employment agency. Shortly after, Wilson received a text saying she had secured a part-time job. The scammers asked for her phone number and requested she follow a few links and fill out forms to complete the onboarding process. During the chat, she sent over personal information such as bank account details. Instead of starting her new job and making money, scammers stole $40,000 from her bank account. $34,000 of that money came from a GoFundMe she used to raise funds for her daughter's medical bills. Wilson's daughters suffered from mental health conditions and eating disorders, and she'd already remortgaged her home 3 times to cover their current medical bills. She also worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. In 2022, cyber criminals took her driver's license details to hack her government account and create fake tax returns in her name. Tradewind Australia confirmed 100 people reported similar scams from people impersonating the company. The website added a notice warning job applicants about the scheme. Number 2, going undercover. Scammers stole a 91-year-old widow's life savings by convincing her she was helping track down fraudsters. A fake police officer named Andrew William contacted the great-grandmother, Margaret, whose last name has been kept private, on behalf of the Australian Federal Police to inform her that someone was trying to steal her money. The scammer then convinced Margaret to transfer her savings to another bank so the AFP could track the hackers. The scammers told her she couldn't tell family or friends, which could compromise the police operation. According to William, people were losing large sums of money to hackers, and some banks handled it better than others. William reached out to the great-grandmother almost daily with instructions to transfer money into Australian and overseas accounts. Since Margaret didn't bank online, she had to go to the bank each time physically. As a longtime customer of the Bank of Queensland, staff grew concerned about the large withdrawals. One of the employees tried to indirectly ask if Margaret could have fallen victim to a scam, stating that she could be transferring cash to a fraudulent bank. Since William threatened that she could lose her money if she spoke to anyone about the operation, Margaret stayed quiet. William had told her that if anyone wanted to know why she was moving so much cash around, that she should give a benign excuse like buying a new car or doing home renovations. In total, Margaret transferred $399,270 under William's instruction. Margaret finally realized she was scammed when she tried to withdraw money from one of her new accounts, only to find that the money was gone. Unfortunately, scams impersonating the AFP are common and on the rise. Representatives for the police highlighted that the AFP would never call and ask people to transfer money or send it to new bank accounts. Having lost her life savings, Margaret had to sell the home her son built for her and her late husband. If you want to hear more stories on heartless crimes, be sure to stay right on this video to find out how this girl watched in real time as scammers drained her bank account and her bank wouldn't do anything about it. Number 1. Jailed for life. Hakan Aysel pushed his pregnant wife off a cliff while taking a selfie so that he could collect her life insurance. Aysel's wife, Semra, was 7 months pregnant when he insisted they take a picture on the side of a cliff. Although she was frightened of heights, he lured her to the edge of the 1,000-foot drop and shoved her. Soon after her passing, he attempted to collect a $50,000 life insurance payout, alerting police to the suspicious circumstances surrounding Semra's passing. In court, Aysel attempted to deny his role in the incident, and after the jury found him guilty, he tried to appeal on the basis of insanity. He quickly dropped the appeal after medics dismissed the claims. In his version of events, he claimed that Semra put her phone in her bag after they took the photo. A few minutes later, she asked him to grab her phone. As he walked a few steps away, he heard a scream. When he turned around, she was gone. However, there were witnesses. Several other people were at the cliffside that day and took pictures and videos of the view. They noticed that Aysel was eerily calm after the future mother of his child fell. He waved down a driver and said that his wife had fallen. The driver got out of the car and helped him look for her, but they couldn't tell where she landed. While people tried to get closer to the edge to get a better look, Aysel didn't seem all that interested in helping. Aysel appeared carefree as they waited for rescue workers to arrive and showed no emotion when the rescue crew found his deceased wife. His nonchalance continued when he went with Semra's devastated family to collect the body. While the rest of the family was shocked and grieving, Aysel didn't even seem sad. Her family was confused when they learned Semra had taken out loans, as she was always against doing so, and realized that Aysel took them out on her behalf. They also didn't understand why she would have gone so close to the cliff's edge due to her fear of heights. When asked about his wife's insurance policy, Aysel claimed he didn't examine it closely and the banker arranged the paperwork. He stated that the banker arranged the paperwork, which he handed to his wife to sign, and was unaware of how much money was in the policy. A jury saw through Aysel's lies and found him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. Life was looking good for Charlotte Morgan. She had been offered a new job and had just finished talking to a coworker about her future plans when she went to her local gym for her evening workout on Wednesday, August 24th at Virgin Active Gym in Chiswick Park, London. It wasn't until 9:30 p.m. when she finished exercising and went to the locker room to get her things that her nightmare began. She discovered that the padlock she used on her locker was gone and her backpack had been stolen. Certain that nobody would have been able to figure out the code to unlock the padlock, she was convinced that somebody must have used wire cutters. However, how could a person get away with doing something like that in the open? Charlotte was about to find out that the security systems that the gym had in place were no match for a sophisticated thief. All of Charlotte's most valuable possessions were inside of her backpack. It was where she kept her cell phone, bank card, house keys, and bike lock keys, all of which were now in the thief's possession. Without her cell phone, she had no way of calling the police or reaching out to a friend or family member for help. She rushed to the front desk, where two other members stood looking concerned. They entered the gym at the same time she did, and she found out that one of them had their belongings stolen too. Another odd thing that happened when they went to check in earlier that night was that the electronic entry system was down, so they had to write their names on a piece of paper instead. With the gym not being as secure as it would typically be, her fear turned to her stolen bank card. She had to jump through many hoops to get her bank account frozen. The staff at Virgin Active refused to let her use their phone or computer, claiming it went against their security policy. Eventually, a colleague came to her aid and let her use their phone. Before she could find out if there were any unauthorized charges to her account, the call handler forced her to answer a series of security questions to confirm her identity. Once her identity was approved, she was given the long list of transactions charged to her card. Between her starting her workout and calling Statlander's hotline, thousands of pounds had been spent. Suddenly, she was helplessly watching her money be spent in real time. The first transaction was just after 8 p.m. at the Apple Store in Westfield Shopping Centre, located in West London, where they spent £3,000. At around 9 p.m., they moved on to a second Apple Store on Regent Street, spending around £1,000. The last transaction was at Selfridges, where an initial £750 was charged. By the time they were able to put the hold on the account, the stores had already closed for the night. If the gym let her access her information on their computer, then she would have been able to stop the thief sooner. Santander should have noticed that the purchases being made on her card weren't normal. In fact, they were completely different from her regular spending pattern. She had never shopped at an Apple store before, let alone been to 2 other stores on the same night. Also, she would rarely spend a lot of money at once. She knew that there were supposed to be protections in place to stop this from happening. Shocked, she asked why the bank didn't try to stop these transactions. Turned out that texts querying the purchases were sent to her stolen phone. If she had her phone, then she would have immediately been able to stop this from happening. Instead, because the fraudster had her phone, it was easy for him to approve every single transaction and continue their shopping spree. All the while, Charlotte was left frantically trying to figure out what to do. Hoping that she reached the bank in time to stop anything else from being charged to her account, she was horrified when the call handler informed her that there was an additional pending charge of £3,000 to her account. She was watching herself getting scammed in real time. The criminal spent more money on their shopping spree than Charlotte had in her entire account. Already upset that the text checking for fraudulent payments went to her stolen phone, she didn't understand why her account didn't overdraw. It should have never been possible for so much damage to be done to her account. The Santander call handler told her that money was transferred from her savings account in increments of £2,500. Her life savings were in that savings account and could have helped her stay afloat while she waited for the rest of the charges that night to be reimbursed. Not only did someone have her bank card, but they also managed to access her entire account at Santander. Left in shock, Charlotte found herself stranded at the gym that night. Keys to unlock her bike were gone, her house keys were stolen, and she couldn't call for an Uber or reach out to her landlord without her phone. It wasn't possible to get a hotel without any money, so Charlotte resorted to spending the night at her office where she was a TV producer. She sat at her desk all night as she researched what had happened to her and tried to figure out how she would get her money and possessions back. In the morning, she contacted her landlord and he gave her a new key to her house. Then began the excruciating wait for answers. Police told her when she filed her initial report that they would get back to her in a few weeks once they reviewed the security footage, and Santander said they would investigate the case too. Unfortunately, a few days after the initial incident happened, there was a long weekend that delayed the answers she desperately needed. The anticipation was so grueling that she could barely eat or sleep. Virgin Active UK refused to take responsibility for what happened, stating that they never take fault for theft. They claimed that the turnstiles were in the middle of a quick reboot when Charlotte checked in that night, which was the reason why a member of the staff was writing down people's names as they entered. Members of Virgin Active Gym in Chiswick Park were also never told about the theft, even though another woman had her things stolen that night too. But turning off the turnstiles and just writing names is still breaking protocol for security anyways. Santander took it a step further and even blamed Charlotte for the situation. She was accused of either writing the PIN number on her bank card or writing it out on a piece of paper that she kept in her bag. They went as far as saying that she must have shared the number with colleagues, friends, or a family member before they told her that she wouldn't be reimbursed for the transactions charged to her account. There was no proof that her negligence caused what happened, but the fact that her PIN was used meant that Santander refused to accept the blame. She took to Twitter to share her story. She detailed the entire ordeal in a series of tweets, from the card entry system not working that night to Virgin and Santander refusing to accept fault. Tens of thousands of people shared the tweets, and she received a flood of responses. Local firemen offered to free her still-locked bike, and a nearby restaurant offered her a gift card for a free dinner. A member of Virgin Active in Chiswick Park wrote a reply where she questioned if it was safe for her to keep going there. People also sent her links to places where she could report Santander and Virgin Active UK for mishandling the entire situation. A bank security expert confirmed that the most likely thing that happened was that the thief took the SIM card out of her phone. Charlotte had so many unanswered questions. How did the thief know getting into the gym was going to be so easy? How could they have hacked her padlock? How were they then able to bypass her phone's facial recognition and passcode to gain access to her phone? How did they figure out her bank card's PIN code? How were they able to change her bank details so easily? Our question is, were they a member of the gym and just decided to do the crime since they could get in easily? Santander insisted that Charlotte was at fault and that her money was lost due to her own negligence, but a Twitter user helped Charlotte piece together one likely explanation. All the thief needed to change her bank security passwords and PIN was her bank card and the SIM card from her phone. Once they had that, they just needed to move the SIM card from Charlotte's phone into their own, where it would then bypass needing the thumbprint security or facial recognition that it would need on Charlotte's phone. However, Santander claimed that it would depend on how a user logged into the app on their phone and that they wouldn't be able to get into it without a passcode or using biometrics to obtain the PIN. They also clarified that the in-app PIN resets are common for UK banking apps and not a feature unique to Santander. A few days after Charlotte's tweets, Santander had a change of heart. The bank called her and agreed to reimburse her for the fraudulent charges. They gave Charlotte a long apology and admitted that they handled the situation poorly and were ultimately at fault. If her story didn't go viral, would Santander have given the money back? Or were they doing it just because they basically were guilt-tripped into it? Following Santander's lead, Virgin Active UK also acknowledged their role in the incident. They admitted to Twitter user @VivaJinsu that their security machine was broken when she entered and that the staff didn't even bother checking people's memberships before letting them through. Virgin Active UK also claimed that they would do whatever it takes to win back Charlotte's trust, but it might be too late. Charlotte confessed to losing all of her trust in banks and gyms. Now, she always locks her SIM card with a PIN number and separates her bank card from her phone. She was still paying off her phone when it was stolen and, as expected, she's still being held responsible for the rest of the payments, as she didn't have any phone insurance. Unfortunately for Charlotte, she still has 20 monthly payments left beginning in October of 2022. These types of simple gym thefts have apparently been becoming more common in locker rooms in London. Many people have already contacted Charlotte to say they had a similar experience after her story went viral. Charlotte's now actively advocating for change and wants to see police, gyms, and banks working together to stop anyone else from going through the same experience as her. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section whether or not you think it's a red flag if the owner or founder of a company wears flashy jewelry or a flashy car.